Hello, my name is Jack Wallen, and you're probably confused right now. You're probably thinking, wait a minute, that bloke's American. Why is he talking like that? Well, hopefully in a moment you'll understand why I'm talking like this, because I believe it's germane to the subject. And secondary, I just like talking like this. After all, I'm an actor, and any time you can give an actor a chance to use a dialect or an accent, they're going to use it. And it just so happens that generic British dialect, which I'm using right now, is one of my favourites. So here we are, you and me. Now, before I get into the main subject here, I want to offer a little bit of a PSA, a public service announcement. I want to talk about comments. Now, I'm not talking about the comments here on my YouTube channel. I get them. Thank you very much. I get both negative and positive ones. And it doesn't matter either way, because we're all here communicating with one another, sharing ideas. And I think that is grand. But if I had to say one thing about comments, especially on social media, it would be this. It's just someone else's opinion most of the time, unless they have a fact to share with you and maybe debunk what you're saying or prop up what you're saying. And the way I look at these things is that unless it's someone that actually matters to me, someone I care about, someone I look up to, someone I respect, someone, a friend, a loved one, it doesn't matter, you know who I'm talking about. Unless it's one of those persons, the comments, I can't allow them to affect me. I just can't. Because we all know this. There are people on the internet whose sole purpose is to tear other people down. I've run into those people quite often. And most of the times I just allow them to say what they want to say, and then I just move on. There have been the rare occasion, however, that I have felt the need to respond. And when I do respond to those comments that are otherwise hurtful, I try to be positive. Say, thank you for sharing your opinion. Thank you. And then I'll maybe pepper it with something else, but essentially I'm responding in such a way that I don't give the attacker the means to come back at me. But here's the deal. If you're going to be online in any way, shape or form, you got to develop a thick skin. Because there are always going to be people who want to tear you down. And it's a sad, sad thing. But it's not going to change. And we're not going to change the people that are hell-bent on doing that. They get off on it. There's no other way to put it. They get off on the idea of making other people feel small so that they can feel big. And if I could say one thing to those people out there with that modus operandi, I'd say this. Were you bullied? When you were in elementary school or high school, were you bullied? And if so, how did that make you feel? How did it make you feel to be the brunt of other people's jokes? Probably didn't feel so good, did it? Well, the next time you decide to comment on something, keep that in mind. All right, that's all I'm going to say on that. I want to talk about something else now, and it's the reason why I'm talking like this, sort of. I came up with the phrase, art yourself into a corner. What does that mean? Well, you've heard of the phrase paint yourself into a corner, and you know what that means. I do it all the time. But here's the thing. And first of all, I no longer call it paint myself into a corner, unless you're a painter. I call it art myself into a corner, because it applies to every form of art that I deal with. Well, what do I mean by this? I have never been one to take the safe route. I like a challenge, because I think that that when we face a challenge, we run the risk and the reward of growing from it. Of course, that challenge could best us, but we hope that we will best it. Now, what made me think of this was the other night, I was writing on the second book in my Aftermath series, my new sci-fi series. And it was one of those situations where I was writing along. This is my universal symbol for writing. I was writing along, and the universe, aka my muse, said, I want this to go down this route. And I thought about it and I said, well, that's really challenging. How am I going to deal with that? What am I going to do with these characters to make this work? And I thought for just a second, no, let's go the easy route. And then, after chastising myself for even thinking about going the easy route for a nanosecond, I said, right, let's do it. Let's go down that challenging route that my muse decided that this story needed to go down and see what happens. And here's the thing. Every time you paint yourself into a corner, you're going to work pretty hard to get out of it, right? And when you do that, your story, your characters, your universe, whatever, is going to get really exciting and really good. I have had many an instance, whether I'm writing or acting or directing, I suppose, where I've realized that I am essentially arting myself into a corner, and I'm willingly doing it. In fact, I often seek out those routes, those more challenging routes, where I think, if I go this way, I'm going to be really challenged, and I'm going to have to struggle to find a way out. And then I think, okay, that's exciting. I wonder what's going to happen. And inevitably something really cool happens. Now, there have been occasions when I've arted myself into a corner and it's taken me a bit longer than I wanted to get out of it. And that's all right, because in the process of me arting myself into the corner and arting myself out of that corner, something really special has happened. I have dived in so deeply into that moment that I know it. I know the ins and outs of it, and I know exactly what it needs. And a lot of times, arting myself into those corners brings about tension, which gives the opportunity for resolution. And it's really cool when you have these moments of tension in your work that aren't in the climax. Because I have read enough books, I have seen enough television, I have watched enough theatre to know that the arc of a story should not go smoothly up like this to the climax and then fall down smoothly like this in the denouement. That's not thrilling at all. That's not gripping. It's not good storytelling. The rise to the climax should be a nice little up and down, like a heartbeat, like an erratic heartbeat climbing faster and faster and faster, and then it gets to the climax, and then it does the same thing all the way down. Don't take the easy route as an artist. You're not going to grow from it. Willingly art yourself into those corners, because that's where the real magic happens, in those corners. Look, you are listening to someone who has taken it upon himself, who has made sport of taking the hard route all my life. And I guess I was thrust into it as a child because, you know, I've mentioned it before, I had a really, really crappy childhood. All sorts of bad things happened to me as a child and to my sister. But we're not talking about that. But I believe my childhood instilled in me this, not need, I suppose, but this attraction to challenge. Because it's all I knew. And even as an adult, I will, for instance, I use a non-traditional operating system in my computers. And when I first started using it, it was hard. And I knew it was hard. I went into it knowing it was going to be hard, but I told myself, nope, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it because I can and because I want to. And if I do, I'll come out better for doing it. And that's the way I look at this as an artist. Every time I am able to art myself out of a corner, I know that I am coming out of that a better artist and a better person. And isn't that the goal? To always be improving? I do the same thing as an actor. One of the first things I do when I'm looking at a script is go, what's the hard way of doing this? What's the challenge here? What can I do to art this character into a corner so that I have to get him out? And here's the other thing. Here's the big bonus. The really big bonus that I see from doing this. When I art myself into a corner, I typically understand that whatever story that I'm writing at the moment, however I'm taking this journey, hasn't been done before. Because for me to write or art myself into a corner, I have to do so through my filters, my perspective, my point of view, everything. It is truly me. And in that moment, I am opting, to shy away from traditions, from tropes, from norms, all that, and saying, you know what? Everybody else is going this way. I'm going to go this way. And we're going to see what's down there. In the second book of the Aftermath series, I'm about at 45,000 words. And I think I have arted myself into two corners. One of them was really challenging because I said, if I do this, if I willingly do this, I'm going to make this book exponentially harder for me to write from here on out. And I said, yeah, let's do it. Why the hell not? The second one wasn't so dramatic, but it still counted. Now you're probably asking yourself at this point, well, that's all fine and good, but what in the hell does that have to do with him talking like this? Well, I was out for a run a bit ago before I did this and before I got in the shower, because you would not wanted me to sit here and film a video after I just run, because it will be disgusting. You would probably somehow be able to smell me through the camera. So I cleaned up. But while I was out on my run, I was thinking about this video and what I was going to say, what I was going to do with it, what was the purpose. And I thought, well, if I'm talking about putting myself into a corner, why don't I put myself into a corner in the actual video? And I thought, how can I do that? Well, I'll just talk in a British dialect and make sure I have to do it the whole time and try to make it believable. Now, if you're from England or Britain or whatever it's called, you're probably thinking, his region's all over the place. I can't understand a word he's saying. or I can understand him, but it's almost like he's every British person wrapped into one. With his dialect, with its terrible, no good, terrible, no good, I can't think of it right. I actually did that show. Alexander and his terrible, horrible, no good, very bad dialect. There we go. I said it. I said it and I mean it. I just seriously had this thought. How does one laugh in a British dialect? I don't think you can you? Doesn't work. So the lesson here is that I think it is a powerful tool to art yourself into a corner, regardless of your medium, whether you're a writer, an actor, a painter, a musician, a sculptor, a costume designer, a set designer, a lighting designer. Speaking of lighting designers, I really need one for me and my muse. If you know a lighting designer in Louisville, Kentucky, let me know, because they are hard to come by. It doesn't matter what your focus is. You can art yourself into a corner. Here's a good example. Let's say you're a painter and you've spent years developing your own style, right? Well, maybe the next time you paint something, why don't you try to paint it in style of a different artist? Paint it in the style of Chagall, or Matisse, or Van Gogh, or however you want to pronounce that last name. Van Gogh, Van Gogh. I was trying to pull a Van Gogh out of that, but I can't do it. There's no region in the world that would pronounce his name Van Gogh. Anyway, I'm sorry. I got off track there and my mind started to spin around certain things and I didn't want to speak those certain things. So here I am. So yes, don't fear the challenge, because within the challenge there is incredible growth waiting for you. And every time, as an artist, you take the safe route, you avoid the challenge, which means you avoid the growth. If you always take the safe route, you do not grow. Oh, sure. You could write 10,000 books, and every one of them you take the safe route. You're going to learn a few things, but are you going to grow as an artist by always going the easy route? I don't think you will. Now, of course, it's just my opinion, but then again, all of this is my opinion, and my opinion is my opinion, and I hold it very dear. And I believe that growth doesn't happen in no safe spots. Now, I'm not saying the safe spots are wrong. It's very good to have them. I use them. For example, in Aftermath 2, which I don't know what the title will be, because Aftermath 2 just seems boring. I told you that I had written myself into a corner twice. And both times after that, after I was able to write myself out of the corner, I allowed myself to land on a safe spot. It's like, got this really hard thing to do over here. Again, I'm writing. Universal symbol. I guess it's more typing. So I'm over here typing up this really challenging plot moment over here, and I'm doing it and I'm doing it and I'm doing it well. And by the end of it, I'm exhausted. It just worked my brain so hard. The getting into it and the getting out of it. So after that, I'll come over here. I did this really hard thing, and I'm going to go, oh, you know what? Let's have a scene with Jit and Gilly. Those are the two main characters. Jit and Gilly's relationship. Let's have a nice little moment here, because that's easy. I can write those little relationship moments in my sleep. So up here, down here, knowing that I'm probably going to go back up here at some point, which is going to lead me down here. And it's just, so it's a big old roller coaster, and it's great. It's great for the reader, it's great for the writer, it's great for everyone. I would imagine that even some little otter over in the stream that's just in the middle of building his dam will stop for a second and clap his flippers together and say, bravo to you for taking the high road, not the high road, the challenging road, which can also be the high road. But you know, otters can sometimes get high and hard confused. Anyway, I better stop now, because I just have a feeling that I'm driving you crazy. Anyway, thank you so much. I'm going to keep on going until the very end, right? Thank you very much for taking a moment to spend some time with me, because I know it's precious, and I know that you've all got a whole lot better things to do, family to attend to, television shows to watch, meals to cook, naps to take, shawls to knit. I'm going to stop right there. Thank you again. It means the world to me that you've shared this with me. And I hope that you and everyone you know had a wonderful, wonderful day.